appreciate being able to work with people like you guys who have done enough healing, and myself. We've done enough healing where we can bring in light codes. We can bring in love. We can bring in light. We can create this atmosphere. And to me, that's New Earth.
It really is all about love, I think. You know,
fundamentally, right. It's all about love, because
exactly.
That's what we came from, and that's what we are. It's this world in the veil of forgetfulness that makes you think otherwise. And then, of course, there's religious program and societal programming and family programming. But I'm curious, because it says that you're known as a water alchemist. So school our audience, and me included, what is a water alchemist, and how does water play a role in your healing work? Because I always talk about how water has consciousness. We always talk about Dr. Emoto, right, and him and
his water
that he is going on. So right. What is a water alchemist, and what do you do?
I really believe that I was a mermaid in a past life as well.
Sure you were.
So, yeah. So I was a good one, though. The sirens, they didn't like me because I would show the sailors the right way.
Oh wow! So they were like, "This girl's messing up our game."
I would mess up. I was basically a traitor. I've always had to spend a lot of time in water, around water. Like when I go out in nature, water has to be by. It helps me with just my emotions. And then when I started really having to deal with certain ailments, because when you deal with trauma, your central nervous system takes a effing beating.
Yeah.
And when you try to heal and regulate yourself, sometimes you find yourself where you've been sick. And a lot of that is like autoimmune disease. And so I've had to deal with a lot of different autoimmune conditions and stuff like that. And I couldn't find anything that would help me except water, getting into warm water. And so I found myself all the time getting into warm water, being around water, praying, meditating with the water, talking to the water. Before I even knew about, before I even had the near-death experience, before I knew anything about spirituality. Mm-hmm. Then when I had the near-death experience, everything was coming together about the water. And it was
that's what you saw in your near-death experience. You were on a beach, water.
Yeah. And Source showed me it was like a portal to cross over. Okay. Like if I would have hit that water,
you'd have been on the other side.
I would have been on the other side.
Right.
They speak to water. It changes the patterns in the water. Our bodies are made up of mostly water.
Yep.
That's what I've always said.
Yep.
And when we're trying to heal our DNA, because we're not just trying to heal our body or our minds, we're trying to heal our tissues and at a molecular DNA level.
Right.
And we could do it with water.
Subway exhibit comes to us from Japan and Mr. Masuro Emoto. Mr. Emoto became terribly interested in the molecular structure of water and what affects it. Now, water is the most receptive of the 4 elements. Mr. Emoto thought perhaps it would respond to non-physical events. So he set up a series of studies, applied mental stimuli, and photographed it with a dark field microscope. This first picture is a picture of water from the Fujiwara Dam. And this picture is the same water after receiving a blessing from a Zen Buddhist monk. Now, in this next series of pictures, Mr. Emoto printed out words, taped them to bottles of distilled water, and left them out overnight. This first photograph is a picture of the pure distilled water, just the essence of itself. These subsequent photographs, as you can see, are each different. This is the chi of love. And we move along here to thank you. And you can see where he taped that to this bottle here. But if you read Japanese, you already knew that. Now, Mr. Emoto speaks of the thought or intent being the driving force in all of this. The science of how that actually affects the molecules is unknown. except to the water molecules, of course. And it's really fascinating when you keep in mind that 90% of our bodies are water.
Just water, you can speak. I love water so much. And the more I started doing my healings, I started to realize that with tarot, the cups, the water in tarot, the cups, is the emotions, the emotional body. And so in spirituality, water represents emotion. So when you're talking about the moon, the intuition, it rules the waves, the tides.
That's right.
Right.
That's the divine feminine. So the water is the mother. So I was held by the water when I was dying. I was basically being held by mama. When I call myself a water alchemist, when I do a reading for you, it doesn't matter if it's a past life reading, whatever kind of reading it is. It could be, I don't even have to use cards. That intuition and all that, that's all my relationship with water as well. And it's all healing. And so I'm going to start bringing in an emotional aspect of healing. And when I do that, I'm alchemizing and transmuting your water, your DNA. So that's what makes me a water alchemist. So before you come to a reading and after you leave, your structure is going to be changed.
Your healing techniques, you're healing the water of people's bodies, which magic on earth, man, magic on earth.
Ancient technology.
Yeah, right?
This is ancient technology. It's Atlantean
Energy
and
alchemy.
Lemurian. It's actually healing with sound, light, and elements. It's basic healing. Basic. Their lifetimes, like it's not anything like new. Whether it's a cup of water, your body, or a body of water, I was getting that, where it's like that Rumi quote where he says like, where one drop, but where the ocean in one drop, basically. I don't know the exact saying, but that's
I know
how
what
I
quote
say
you're
it.
referring to. Yeah.
And it's basically like, people think that because we're separate from source that we're not the ocean. But just because you're a drop doesn't, it's the same makeup. If you look at the ocean and then you look at the drop, it's the same makeup.
Thought of the where they say like when we're discussing whether or not aliens exist, and the people are like, they look up to the sky and they're like, well, I don't see nothing, so they must not exist. But that's like taking a drop of water from the ocean and going, oh, there's no shark in here, so sharks must not be real. And it's like, well, you don't have a big enough sample,
Right.
Go get some more. But
like we haven't even seen the whole ocean on Earth. Never mind the cosmic ocean.
Literally 80% of our oceans are uncharted and undiscovered. And I tend to believe that there's alien bases all up under there because it's the perfect hiding place. We've never looked at it, so it would be the perfect place for them to be.
And believe it or not, but there is actual data evidence that suggests that could be possible.
Hey,
or that could be a reality.
Leftovers from Atlantis and Lemuria. I believe it's really real.
I do too. And the evidence of that also is the fact that we're using this healing right now. Like me talking about water alchemy. You're talking about how you write a lot of my friends too, we write codes. So we use numerology and even write the codes on the water.
Okay. Yeah.
Things like the earth element with the water element together.
Yes.
And using that. And then if you add any kind of sound to that takes it even to a whole other level.
Frequencies
or even
to
light.
It's like semantics.
To find practical ways, and those are some of the practical ways that I have found is like, doing the hape even, or going by the water, or, infusing the water healing with the crystals. One of the basic meditations I do is the shower. And you can, like, I take Florida water in there or rose water. I use rose water, and I'll make like a concoction too and put it on my crown. And then being a light worker, I have to constantly clear this energy, this stuff. I gotta, like, I always hear the Holy Spirit, but it's like I want to have my energy high vibe to be able to deliver the message. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What? You mean taking a shower? It's like, well, yeah, if you infuse some crystals and some mantras and some intentions into it, it could be a spiritual shower. But school people on how to do spiritual hygiene, please and thank you.
Yes, great question. So first of all, just like meditation and prayer, spiritual hygiene is going to be specific for you. So whatever your intuition, tap into your own intuition and allow it to guide you, because I can give you certain recipes of stuff I use, and you can start off with that, but then you can get creative.
Yeah.
Your own self. It's kind of like if I gave you a recipe to make some sort of meal and then you taste it and you're like, that's good, but let me tweak it how I like.
Right.
So whenever I give these pointers, please do that for yourself,
Okay, great.
But there's many different ways to clear your energy. I can go on and on at different things that I use to clear my energy. One of the basic things, of course, first of all, though, is sound. Speaking, using your words, saying high vibrational things, singing high vibrational frequencies and songs clears the energy. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And then also, instruments, certain bells and things. I have my gong. I love gongs. You can do other things. Like maybe you've taken a spiritual bath and now you need to do, and I'll talk about the spiritual bath real quick, but maybe you need to do, a burn ceremony or something like that too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget about the other elements, because like I use Palo Santo, sweetgrass, and because in sacred healing, if you look at the medicine wheel for the indigenous people, they have the 4 directions on there, and they actually use sacred tobacco, they use sage, they use sweetgrass, and then the other one is cedar they use. Those are the 4 things for air element to clear when it comes to smoke. But I always tell people, if you don't like smoke, you can get yourself, like I make sprays. You don't have to get it from me, but you can use different sprays. Like rosemary is a really good clearing essential oil.
Mm-hmm.
And that still is mixed with water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's still like a water plus air, elemental spiritual cleanse.
Very cool.
Okay, so then when you're
wanting hitting them with the combos,
hit them with the combos. We hit them with the 1-2. When the enemy, and some, you could think about it as you want, because we are all one, and ultimately the enemy is for our good anyways. But when the enemy comes and he's heavy hitting you, you got to know how to hit with the 1-2 combo back with the heavy hit.
Yes, girl.
And you do that with your words, and you do that with all these clearing tools. A bath. I always use, so you have the water element, and then I add salt. I add sea salt on the full moon cycles, because it's the water. You're using the element of the water, and the moon rules the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I've also taken very lovely baths full of roses, honey, milk.
Oh, wow.
All that. Yeah.
And this also lends to self-love too, because it's like, if you think about taking a bath that you're describing as like spiritual hygiene, it could also be looked at as like a self-love thing. Because really you're taking a fancy smelling, lovely feeling bath,
I do all these things, but sometimes I don't. And I'm saying that to be real so that people can understand, because sometimes it's just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Work in what you can and don't stress if you can,
It's like, because it's not about the ritual itself. It's about the intention.
Yes.
There you go. What's your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
I heard my spirit guide say, can't we all just get along?
It's so true.
So that's what I would say is, my hope for humanity is that we can heal and all know that we're enough and really just love one another.
Yes. Again, it sounds so basic, but it has so much power behind it, right? Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Sarah, is there any last things or any other pieces of advice or things that you wanted to express before we close out today?
I just want everybody who's watching, thank you so much for taking your time to stop in. And I hope that you can open up your heart, open up your mind, so that you can heal and understand that you are a whole person.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. Much love.
Love,
Peace.
peace, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.